It's my first Shohei bobblehead.
That's your first?
My first one.
Wow,
So
big
let's-
moment.
So let's see how these things. Well, what's wrong?
Just rip the top off.
What's the subject? Isn't that what you
How
do?
are you gonna resell it on eBay if you've destroyed the box? Hello and welcome back to Dodgers Debate. I'm Jack Harris, the LA Times Dodger beat writer, along with a solo columnist today.
Where's Dylan?
Bill Plaschke. I don't know. Where is Dylan?
We're about the White House, and he fled town.
Well, I was going to say, when we were in Japan a couple weeks ago, Dylan replaced you with Elatrosh. He said that Elatrosh was better looking than you. He said that Elatrosh was more talented because he could do surgery. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here. Twist the knife back.
He's right on both of them. I'll never talk about Dylan when he's not here. Although even when he's here, he's not here. But yes, it's interesting how he wrote a great column in the White House.
and now he's gone.
Then he fled. All the heat. Well, also, why is he in the chair and I'm in the couch? Isn't the chair for the main man? I guess
Yeah, it is. All right. Well,
Shohei Ohtani.
yeah, the Dodgers are 8-0. They're off to the best start they've had since moving to Los Angeles. They're off to the best start that any defending World Series champion has gotten off to. They've done it by coming back in 6 of these games. I'm just going to give you a chance. You want to call 162-0 right now, or
I'm going to say it's possible. Believe it, it's very possible. Everybody's laughing about it. Who's going to beat them? They've beaten, in 8 games, they've beaten 2 Cy Young Award winners. They won games without their best players. They won games with the bullpen. They won 6 comebacks. They won 2 walk-offs. They won in every imaginable possible way possible. Who's going to beat them? And if you want to be realistic about it, look at the schedule. I see him going 37-0.
I did like going through your column last night.
Yeah.
You're going through the piting matchups and the schedule. And
Yeah.
You're like, hey, man, look, all of April, it could just be all wins.
All wins. I think they go at least 37-0. They're unbelievable. They have everything.
Yeah, and to me, the thing that's really struck me, just kind of being around this first week of the season, is, like the biggest question, or one of the biggest questions I think a defending champion has to answer the next year is like the hunger piece of it, right? And the fight piece of it. And can you take the intangible culture pieces that helped you win a title the year before and have that same kind of drive the next year after you've won? Like Tyler Glasnow talked about this. He said, he was kind of curious coming into spring training to see, what the mood in the room would be like. And he said right away, he was like, oh, we are hungrier than last year. Teoscar Hernandez has brought up a couple times how guys got to camp earlier than they needed to, the kind of focus that guys had in the room during spring training and that they've had during this first week of the season. And, this is the time of the year where I think they would have been forgiven for having a little bit of a hangover, for getting off to a slow start. Like they had to go to Japan to open. This week during this homestand, they have one ceremony pregame to raise a banner. They have one ceremony pregame to do the rings. They honor Jack Flaherty before one of the games. They're getting their personal awards from last year. Like there was a lot going on that wasn't focused on starting 2025 really well. And despite all of that, despite, like you mentioned, they've only played 2 games with Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts together, the starting pitching hasn't even been great. And some of the starts have been just kind of bad. And yet they're finding ways to win. They're finding ways to fight back in games. But they do the thing that they've preached about for the last couple years, for the last 10 years, really, which is, when you play for the Dodgers, you hold yourself to a certain standard. You don't give up on at-bats. You keep kind of grinding. And that's a lot of like cliche talk, and is the kind of thing that they haven't always been able to manufacture consistently, especially in the postseasons before last year's. But I think they did find something last October, and kind of the mentality of the team and the way they prepare and the way they play. That's the thing to me that's really stuck out, because it's given an early answer to that question. Like, are they as hungry as they were last year? Well, they might, like, realistically be even more so, knowing they're over the hump of winning, and they're kind of trying to play against this historical standard of being an all-time great team. And if you're going to be that, this is, a good way to start.
Given the amount of food he consumed on opening day, Dylan Hernandez is hungrier than last year. Much hungrier. Also, I want to ask you, Jack. So last night, we're sitting there, bottom of the 9th inning, Shohei get at the plate, crack of the bat, ball goes out. I look at you, and you freeze. You didn't do anything. You just stared. Were you staring in awe, or were you staring in panic because you had to rewrite your story?
I had already started rewriting it. I mean, by like the 8th inning of that game,
You knew then.
Once Max Muncy hit the double. I mean, Shohei Ohtani said it himself. He's like, give the credit to Max Muncy. Once we got that game tied, it felt like we were going to have a good chance of winning. And I mean, honestly, going back to even like the 4th inning of that game, I think we were kind of sitting there saying, okay, they've cut a 5-0 deficit to 5-3. They're starting to make some things happen. I think even at that point, I stopped writing they've thrown away the perfect start to the season with just this horrible game. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what they do. And honestly, in that moment, full transparency, I had called Andy Pages to hit the walk-off home run in the at-bat before.
That's a terrible call.
And then I was really just kicking myself for, how just dumb I could have been to miss the obvious storylines.
Well, I was
standing there waiting on
I was
deck.
feeling it too. I felt it too the last 3 or 4 innings. You feel like they're going to win. And it makes me such a better column. My column was sick. My column, if they had lost, my column was trash. Because they won a column, it's less than trash. But speaking of
you did lean to me in the 5th inning. You go, what is a column angle here if they lose this game?
Yeah, and you said they suck. I can't write that.
Themselves. But honestly, like that.
Actually, you did give me a good idea. You said the one thing they can beat is themselves.
Yeah,
and that's how they played. They were terrible. I'm the one that asked Dave Roberts before the game and afterward if they feel unbeatable. I think they are. I think they are unbeatable. I really feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, when his answer was like he feels like on any given night they're unbeatable.
You know he's unbeatable. Shohei Ohtani. It was his bobblehead night. I've got a bobblehead. They gave one to the media. It's my first Shohei bobblehead.
It's your first?
My first one.
Wow, big moment.
So let's see how these things. What's wrong?
We just ripped the top off.
What's the stuff? Isn't that what you
How
do?
are you gonna resell it on eBay if you've destroyed the box?
Oh, what?
What do you think?
Doesn't look a thing like him.
Where's his bat? Does it not come with
It
a
looks
bat?
more like you than it does him. Look at it. Oh, is there a bat?
I don't know. The bat must be missing.
There's a bat. There's a bat.
There is a bat.
Okay. Put the bat. Where's the bat go?
Here, we'll put the bat on.
I don't think it looks like him. So you people stood in line for 5 hours for this?
That's what they do.
Let me see it.
Well, and the irony is, I'm pretty sure everybody does kind of end up with a bobblehead at the end of the night anyway. And I'm not even sure there were like 40,000 people there total last night in terms of actual bodies. It was pretty close, but
Do you agree it doesn't look like him? You agree it looks more like you?
maybe. I don't know. They're bobbleheads. Do they ever look like the actual person?
He's got cauliflower ears, like he's an all-star wrestler. Anyway, here's a Shohei Ohtani bobblehead. You came to get it last night. Why are you so mad? Maybe turn out the package. Isn't that how you go up?
No. Come on. The whole value of these things is you can resell them in 5 years on.
I don't even sell this stuff.
Oh, come on.
This is going
You
right.
got to keep your options.
This is
open.
right in my drawer. But yes, it was great, and I do thank them for they give the media one, and it's really nice of them to do that because it is a cool thing to have. But the lines, I got there 5 hours early. People were lined up on Stadium Way on the street, standing there for miles.
Have you ever seen something like that?
Never.
Because this happened a few times last year. I was a little surprised that it received as big of a reception as it did last night. But I think it just kind of keeps speaking to, he has reached a different kind of level of celebrity even here in LA, it feels like, because of moments like last night. Because, you can go to the game, like we've talked about this, but you can go to the game, you can get your Shohei Ohtani bobblehead, and then also if he comes up in a big spot, like he delivers.
He had a grand slam on his 40-40 night.
40, yeah.
He had the first home run in the playoffs. He had the walk-off a couple weeks earlier every time you honor him, he honors us back. I think he's now officially the biggest sports star in L.A. I think he's bigger than LeBron.
I think it's probably more resonant than LeBron, I think, is kind of the feel. Like, I don't know if there's been that kind of deep connection where for like a LeBron bobblehead night, people are going to be lining up outside of crypto 5 hours earlier.
Well, I saw during the national anthem, I looked at all the names on the jerseys. There was like 7 Ohtani jerseys right behind home plate. One was an old man. One was a young woman. One was a teenage kid. All different races, all different genders. I mean, he connects with everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about one of their other Japanese stars who's gotten off to a very different kind of start to the season. Because I think if there's one kind of big concern from this opening week, it's been the way Roki Sasaki's looked.
Yeah, and Dylan kissed his butt so big, and then he had to admit that he was struggling. I love that. See, Dylan had to write the word. He's failing. And didn't Dylan write he's failing?
He's failing, but it's okay.
He is failing.
But it's okay. This is good.
It's so hard for Dylan to write those words, I'm sure.
It's all part of the process. But, there was going to be a process for Roki, right? Like, his agent, the team, made it clear coming in, like, look, he's a work in progress. He's an unfinished product. But my concern is, like, the first start in Japan, there were still some, like, good things you could take out of it, right? Like, Noah's command wasn't there. Yeah, he was feeling a lot of pressure, adrenaline, pitching in front of his home country, but he still got out of a couple of tough jams, was able to execute pitches in a couple of big moments. The difference with the start this week was his command, it wasn't bad. It was just like non-existent. He couldn't put the ball anywhere near the zone, it seemed like, on a lot of his pitches. And the challenge is, we had a conversation with Mark Pryor near the end of spring training. And he said, look, like Roki's stuff, just the raw stuff, and we've seen it, the 100-mile-an-hour fastball, the splitter, even the slider a little bit that he's mixed in. Like, it is not just big league caliber right now, but it's like almost frontline caliber stuff from just a raw talent perspective. But where he's at on his development curve is he's still more of like a prospect, right? Like, this is somebody who, if he had lesser stuff, would almost certainly be pitching in the minor leagues right now. And so the challenge with him was always going to be, how can you help him develop at the big league level when the margin for error is going to be really thin? And there's ways you can do it, right? Like, I think the biggest sort of hurdles there are figuring out, how do you attack big league hitters? How can I set myself up to use the splitter? When do I mix in the slider? Those kinds of things. But when his command is as off as it was a little bit in the first game and definitely in the second start, like, you're not even putting yourself in those positions to grow and learn and figure out how your stuff plays, right? Like he's struggling to even be competitive. At least he was this week.
Well, I was in the Dodger clubhouse yesterday. It's a beautiful new clubhouse. It's gorgeous. And he was in there, and it's the first time I've seen him up close. He had two people with him, like handlers.
Yes, he does.
And he looked like a 15-year-old kid. He looked just eyeballing him.
Mm-hmm.
He looked lost. He looked different. Shohei carries himself with a certain swagger or a certain confidence.
Even Yamamoto this year, I would say,
very much
has
so.
A different kind of presence about him.
This kid looked like he was on take your kid to school day. I mean, take your child to work day. He was, and why does he have two people with him?
That's part of his setup, that he, has a couple personal guys that work with him. Yamamoto, has a guy like that that's around sometimes.
Is it hard for players to get to know him, to get to the wall of people to get to know him? It just, he seemed so out of sorts. He seemed so out of place. I thought, this kid's going to pitch in the major leagues. Is he ready for this?
Well, and it comes on the heels of, after he leaves his second start this week, there's this camera shot of him in the dugout where his eyes look red. He looks pretty rattled. He said he wasn't crying, which has become like a social media speculative thing. But what he did clearly look was rattled by how poorly it had gone. And again, this is somebody, like Dave Roberts keeps pointing out, has not really experienced failure before in his career. He's had injuries, he's had adversity, but he's never just struggled to pitch well. It's, the command piece is not something that the Dodgers were worried about when he came over. Like, he commanded the baseball pretty well in Japan by all accounts. He certainly wasn't walking 4 or 5 batters an outing. And I think for me, the question is, he's going to make his next start on Saturday in Philadelphia
against Aaron and that could put a kink in my 162-0 prediction. That's the one I'm worried about.
It might require another 5-run comeback if things don't change. Like, here's my question for him: is how quickly can you get the command back to a place where it's at least competitive, right? Some of it might be because of the change of the baseball between here and the tackier ball they use in Japan. Obviously, there's all of the atmospheric changes that come with, moving across an ocean and living in a new country and playing in an entirely new league. And I think also there's obviously some mechanical things that they're trying to clean up with him. But if he has a couple more starts that look kind of like the one this past week did, where again, it's just like the command isn't there, he can't get himself into counts, he can't even work on developing the rest of his stuff as a pitcher because he's not in a competitive place, I think you do start to wonder about, okay, what do we do in terms of, do you send him down? Do you do something else? And again, it's 2 bad starts. The Dodgers are going to give him a lot of runway here to try to figure things out. But I think the kind of the mental and emotional part, that's the risk if you kind of let this drag on too long, right?
I think they got to make it like a bullpen game. You got to go in there, like, if he throws 2 good innings, get him out of there. Get him some confidence.
Sure.
Don't leave him in there too long. Get him gone. In the bullpen, there's a guy last night, pitched tremendous for the Dodgers. I never heard of him. Who is it?
Jack Dreyer?
Joan Dreyer? Fred Dreyer?
Jack Dreyer?
Jack Dreyer, yeah.
Come on, man.
Tell the listener, who is Jack Dreyer?
Jack Dreyer, rookie left-hander, kind of a deceptive fastball, and is a Rubik's Cube genius.
Well, that's the kid.
He's a Rubik's
you wrote the
Cube
story
guy.
about it. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
You wrote a story about it.
Yes, he's a genius Rubik's Cube guy. He can figure them out in like 20 seconds, and then he can also make murals out of them. He made a mural of Ohtani last year that lived briefly at Camelback Ranch during spring training before somebody knocked it over, and then it shattered everywhere.
So I thought he was an interesting story. I think he could pitch. I didn't realize he was a good pitcher.
Yeah, well, and it feeds into kind of on the other side of the Roki thing, like one of, I think, the biggest, maybe not surprises of this opening week, but what's clearly going to be one of the team's strengths this year is the bullpen, which has been really, outside of like Tanner Scott having a couple poor outings, has been really good.
Tanner Scott's been terrible.
He got to save the other night.
Yeah, but he needs to. Well, now, what turned you on to the story about the Rubik's Cube? How did you know he did it?
I got an email from his agent actually last year telling me like, hey, this client of mine did a Rubik's Cube mural. And then I had completely forgotten about it until we were standing in the clubhouse this spring, and I saw Yamamoto with a cube. And one of the Japanese reporters asked me, like, hey, what's going on with that? And I'm like, oh, that's Jack Dreyer's thing. And I'm like, oh, and he was the guy who did the Ohtani mural.
So people still carry cubes around with them? I didn't know people.
He does.
I don't even sold a Rubik's Cube anymore.
He does. He had a lot of them this spring. He was showing people on the team how to use them.
Can you do it?
No.
I got no shots.
Do I look anywhere close to smart enough to know how to do that?
Yeah, sure. The way you write so beautifully. You do it.
Yeah, writing and algorithmic math are.
But I thought it was interesting. The 3 relievers were very compelling last night. Were Casperino, Kasparius, Kirby
Yates,
and Jack Dreyer.
Good job.
All right.
But yeah,
this isn't Blake Trinan.
No,
this is Michael Kopech.
And like that's the thing. Like that's one of the, when we talk about the depth of the team, right? Like that's where it shows up. It shows up when you can play without Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, and then still get big hits from Michael Conforto and Max Muncy, and Kike Hernandez has come in and hit a couple home runs. When the starting pitching isn't going well, and then you can still, like, nobody's pitched past 5 innings yet for this team. And they have an ERA, a team ERA under 2, because the bullpen has, again, really consistently picked up the slack and delivered. And those are things that when you kind of plan or game out how a season might go for a team and how good a team like this Dodger squad can be, those are the things that kind of reinforce to me that, there's not a lot of ways this season could go off the rails.
Are we worried about Freddie Freeman? And I think we should be. The ankle it's an injury from last year. You slip in the shower. Young men don't slip in the shower.
Well,
old guys like me slip in the shower. Young men don't slip in the shower.
Well, and he explained it himself as like, look, like he steps in with his right foot. And he's like, you kind of slip and catch yourself in the shower all the time. But when your ankle's not 100%, and his ankle has not been 100%, going back to getting surgery this offseason, like it's still something he's having to manage and get treatment on and battle some swelling or stiffness.
That must be really, for him to slip, it must be really weak. And
it was, kind of like a fluky thing, but it was like, that's how he explained it. That was part of it. And when you have an ankle that is injured and something like that, or is, not 100%, and something like that happens, like, it swelled up a little bit on him. The expectation is that he'll be back in the lineup tomorrow for the team. I think what will really matter when you start thinking about how to manage Freddie Freeman is like, how does the performance look, right? Because even coming into the year, Dave Roberts said, we might need to give him a couple extra off days. We might need to manage his workload a little bit.
I would slow him way down until October. I wouldn't push him this year. I
But-
would. I know he wants to play every game. He's the most work ethic guy on the team. I would shut him down if you have to shut him down. I mean, I would not mess around with this.
Now, the flip side of that
You don't
is,
want surgery.
in that Tigers series, he was starting to swing the bat better. He had a really big game on Saturday. He hit the home run. He hit the double. And I think that's kind of how the team's going to look at this is, even if he's still working his way back to 100%, if he's producing on the field and he's not putting himself in a position to hurt himself further, which hasn't appeared to be the case, that I think he's going to, well, obviously he'll keep pushing to try to play, but I think the team's going to kind of let him do that too. But yes, like that's, I think in the big picture, this is kind of one of the interesting things to watch this year, which is how much do they rest guys or manage guys or kind of start thinking about October versus also trying to, maximize this really talented team and this team that I think wants to try to do special things, wants to try to set the wins record or win 120 games.
Their best player is Tommy Edman.
I mean,
But everybody calls him Tommy Edmonds. It's not Edmonds. It's Edmund.
well, they're calling him Tommy Tanks now.
Yeah, all right.
Keeps hitting home runs
Where did Tommy Tanks come from?
because he showed up with the Dodgers last year and just started hitting a home run.
No, I mean, who first called
I
him
don't
that?
know who first coined it. I have to do some reporting this weekend, I guess.
Is that the best nickname on the team?
I mean, we've
Bazooka's a great nickname.
okay, Shotgun Roki. I mean, come on, this is one of our creations, but I really like it.
Shotgun Roki. I never heard that.
Yeah, it's his pitching style, wild but deadly. Less deadly. This
That's a shotgun that's not working. I wouldn't really use that.
well, it kind of sprays around. It's explosive, but can kind of go a lot of different places. Anything else that's just kind of surprised you from this first week or stuck out? I mean, again,
I'm just amazed at how they're not really hitting the ball. Dave Roberts said they're not really playing very well, and they're still winning games. Max Muncy's looked terrible to play until that double last night.
I mean, I think even Ohtani, his swing
Has
had
a
looked,
little-
he looked a little off. And by a little off, it's like, oh, he's only slapping singles to right, or he had kind of like the blue pit and his at bat before the home run, but then he like that pitch he hit on the walk off wasn't even a bad pitch. It's like a changeup over the outer half of the plate.
They're so deep. It's like you called the game winner from the ninth hitter in the lineup. That's how deep they are.
Yep.
I can't imagine being an opposing pitcher facing him because there's no outs. There's no easy outs.
Yeah, and they've they've already done it against both of the reigning Cy Young winners.
Yeah, I just don't see how come we're looking at they're better than even I thought they were going to be. I don't see anybody beating them. I don't see how anybody beats them. Now, of course, the Padres are unbeaten too, and the Diamondbacks are playing well, and the
The Giants are
Giants
playing
are
well.
playing well. But nobody, I just don't see anybody beating them. I don't see anybody, and I see them easily winning 120 games.
Right now, yeah.
I mean, and even if they don't try, that's the thing. They win when they don't try. They were They looked like they tried to lose last night.
They
couldn't
for
lose.
a couple innings.
They looked terrible, and they still came back. They're so rich in depth and the noise. This is a thing now. Dodger Stadium noise is the most unbelievable noise in L.A. It is the best sports noise I've heard. I've been here for 40 years. It's the most intimidating. The momentum builds as they rally. The noise gets louder and louder and louder, and it's incredible. And it's downright intimidating with the other team. It has to be. I think that's a big factor, bigger this year than any other year before. The fans are coming. The fans are they're all still there. Nobody goes home. All this Dodger Stadium thing leaving early. Nobody goes home anymore. Everybody waits.
And I'll give the crowds credit because they have been really good this first week. Some of that I think is like the World Series celebration and all that, but like these have felt like kind of intense games. I think
Unbelievably intense.
Like it's been like, to me, that's just been the interesting thing is that they went from such an emotional high to end last year and have kind of gone right back to that level where they've just had this, what's been a really remarkable start to the season.
It's just so the noise and the fans demanded too. The fans, they were booing them the first couple of
Rightfully
they
so.
were booing them, which is amazing. Booing an unbeaten team. But yeah, I think I didn't realize it'd be such a factor. The Dodgers game is such a big factor with this team.
Yeah. All right. How many, what's this win streak getting out to before they lose? I want an official prediction.
37-0. I said the paper. I'll stand by what I said in the paper. 37-0. They're going to lose to Arizona in Arizona next month.
All right.
What do you say?
I'll go with 10-0. Which means winning the Roki start. But
Yeah.
I think they're going to have to use so many bullpen pitchers that day. They might be a little shorthanded the next day. 10-0 to match the 55 team. I'll give them that.
I'll say 37-0.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching or listening. We're still in the podcast.
This is a great bobblehead. Get one.
I'm sure the podcast listeners.
I'm not selling it. I don't sell these things. I
didn't even
cover and keep it.
I didn't even think about the podcast listeners when you were ripping open the box and then showing people to the camera. Like that's going to be interesting listening experience.
So this is a podcast. It's not video, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's what makes it a podcast.
Oh, okay. Good. Anyway, this is a great bobblehead. Get one for yourself, but not for me. I'm not selling it.
All right, we'll be back next week, maybe with Dylan.
I hope so.
Maybe not.
We'll see how the White House is. Oh, are you going to the White House with him?
I'm going to the White House. Yes.
You do one hell of a job, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you. That's why I'm in this chair.
All right, fair enough.
We'll talk to you guys next week.